Hey, what's up, OKC lovers? So I know I said I wasn't going to do another video until the next game, but you know what happens every time there's a lull in games, people start speculating and talking about, who's getting traded to what team. So at this point, we're about like the half point for the season, and there are about 82 games in an NBA season. So everyone's starting to speculate about Paul George and if he's going to go to the Lakers. There have been all kinds of chatter about it. I think it's a little early to kind of make those assumptions or make those ideas known. Of course, it wouldn't be interesting if we didn't talk about it, but I kind of feel like let's talk about it and let's move on with our lives, because honestly, how do we know what Paul George is going to do when we don't know how many games OKC is winning this season? Although it's looking like they're doing pretty well. It's looking like they're going to win their fair share amount of games. I was watching The Herd, and I'm not really into The Herd, but I watched it to see what Colin was talking about with this Paul George trade, and it was kind of ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. I'm sure you saw Westbrook was asked, has he been recruiting Paul George for next season? And he said, no, winning a championship is all we need to do. That's the best recruiting there is. What else do I need to do? But really, if you watch Westbrook, you know that he's really not a fan of the press. And it's kind of one of those things where he has to talk to them, so he does, but they continuously ask him silly questions, so he's going to give whatever answer he's kind of feeling in the moment. And I really can't disagree with that. I mean, think about it. You're playing a game super hard as you possibly can. Change your clothes. Now you have to go face the press. You're exhausted. You're kind of over it. You just want to go home, enjoy the win if you win, and forget about it and move on if you lost. Who wants to stand up there and talk about all the great things that they did in the game or all the things they could have done better? It's silly. So that was the answer he gave. And Chris Broussard was on The Herd talking to Colin about this whole thing. And, I love Chris Broussard. I always agree with him. I think he has such a high basketball IQ. It's wonderful to listen to him, honestly. And if you don't know who he is, look him up on YouTube. He is usually a guest on other people's shows, which he really should have his own show, because he's so knowledgeable and he understands how players think and, all these other factors. Because Colin was saying that Russell should be whining and dining Paul George. They're on the same team. It would be different if he was on a completely different team and now the time has come and he's trying to get you to OKC. Paul George is on the Thunder. He sees Westbrook every day. There's no reason why he needs to take him out to dinners and tell him why he needs to say. He sees what's going on. The whole idea is just absurd. It's totally absurd. And he's saying how, when they went to the LA Lakers game, that his parents were treated very well and they had the best seats possible and all these things. Paul George is a grown man. So whether his parents convince him of one thing or another, he's going to make his own decisions at the end of the day. I'm not sure what these fabulous seats have anything to do with his career choices. So it's kind of something that we see in media quite a bit, you know. For whatever reason, the media is very concerned with the future of things and the past. But why can't we focus on the present? The present is what's going to dictate the future, and the present is how we correct our past or how we move forward with things. So there's so much other things going on in the NBA that even just talking about it, I think, is damaging. I can only imagine what it must feel like to be an NBA player. Your name is being spoken about by every single person out there. You're posting things on social media, but you can't really read everything, because doesn't that start to get into your brain a little bit? And how are you supposed to perform at that high level if now you're hearing all this stuff from outside? It has to be extremely difficult, and quite honestly, I don't think it's really fair. I don't think it's fair to these players. They get paid a ton of money to come to work every single day, play their hearts out. They're training in the off season. They're training super hard during the season. They have a lot going on. Why are we trying to get inside their heads, you know? And this is coming from a place of, you all know that I'm a huge Carmelo Anthony fan, and I saw what happened to him with the whole Phil Jackson scenario in New York, and you could see it on his face. As much as he probably was not turning his phone on, not listening to everything that people were saying, not reading the newspaper, there's only so much you can do. You have to leave your house at some point. You have to answer some of these questions at some point. So it's really not fair, quite honestly. And I hope that Paul George doesn't really play into it that much. He seems like he's kind of leaving it at bay, and I can understand why. I really can understand why. So I would love to know what everyone else thinks about this, and if it's too early to even be talking about it, or is it just another thing to talk about? So anyway, that's my piece. Hopefully we're gonna win tonight. So let's oh, and sorry, I'm wearing all these clothes. It is freezing in New York City right now. We're talking under 10 degrees. So, and I kind of have a little bit of a sore throat. So sorry about that, guys. But let's cheer on our team later tonight and have a great day, and thunder up as always.